Nick Durant here with Johnny Artist, and I'm going to interrupt your regularly scheduled program to talk to you about finding the sweet spot on your tattoo machine. So what is the sweet spot, you might ask? Now, on a tattoo machine, when you turn up the voltage, you can hear when you finally get the correct voltage and the machine starts running correctly. And that's what they refer to as the sweet spot. If you have too low voltage, you can hear the machine sputtering and it's not running smoothly. But once it gets into that spot, it'll run smoothly and you can hear it. Let me show you guys. Try to listen to this more than watching. You're listening, not watching. Paying attention to the sound. So the machine's got enough voltage to kick on, but you can see it doesn't have much power. All I had to do was go like that and it stopped. But as I turn the voltage up, I'm listening to it. You can hear it speeding up. And then pretty soon here you're going to hear where it kicks on. It sounds like it's kicked on and it's running smoothly. And if I give it any more voltage, it just revs it up. Okay, so at 4.5, take it back down to 4.5, you could hear that it still wasn't quite there. But listen to it when I take it up to, it was around 4.85. Okay, so it's okay if your machine bogs down as long as it doesn't stop, unless you put way too much pressure on it. So the sweet spot on this machine is about 4.7, 4.8. to 4.8 to 5.0. So that's the sweet spot on this machine, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be running it at 5 volts all the time. Once I have a needle on here, depending on the needle group, I will turn my volts up or down. On a coil machine, when you turn the voltage up, it makes it hit harder. It doesn't speed up your machine. So, low voltage, barely any hit. And you can see, if I crank this thing up, it'll hurt your thumb. See, I can even press my thumb on that and it was still hitting my thumb, because it's hitting harder. On a rotary machine, that's not the case. On a rotary machine, if you turn up the volts, it turns up the speed. So it's got the same hit. Low voltage is still going to hit as hard, but just not as fast. But if I crank this up, it speeds up, but the hit is the same. It's just going a lot faster. So if I know my sweet spot is 5 volts, I can go up another volt to 6 volts to make sure that it's running correctly. So if I don't want it to punch as hard, all I have to do is lower the voltage back down to 5. But if I have a bigger needle grouping, I might go over 6 to make sure that it's running correctly. But I know that's the range for this machine and the sweet spot for this machine. I'd like to take a moment and thank everybody for commenting on my page. In particular, I would like to thank Elliot Nunez, Bill K, and Headshot Horror 4488. I appreciate the comments. Even if you disagree with me, go ahead and comment on my page. That's going to spark some good discussion and some good videos. So if you disagree with what I say, that's not going to hurt my feelings. Go ahead and comment anyways. I'll be happy as long as we're learning something here. That being said, I looked into something that I'd read that said that if your machine is tuned correctly, you should be able to run it at a B flat. So the first thing I had to do was find out how to tune a musical instrument to a B flat and what I could use for that, and if it would work on my tattoo machine. And I talked to a buddy of mine who plays guitar, and he told me to download some free apps on my phone. So I did. One of these is called G Strings, and this one has several different things it can do, and it can actually play the note for you. That way you can try to find the correct note by ear. So there's a B. Let's listen to this. So that way you could try to match the tone. Another thing it has is it does it automatically. Now there's 2 of these that I downloaded. This one's called Fine Chromatic Tuner, and I prefer this one. Let's see where it says my machine is at. So it's putting me at a B. But this is for my liner. And let me show you where my shader is at. And let me show you a color packer. So it seems the more gap I have on my machines, the further I move away from that B flat. So saying that your machines are perfectly tuned at a B flat might not be correct. So it would be difficult to say that if your machine is tuned correctly, it should run at a B flat. There's a lot of factors that go into making sure your machine is tuned correctly. So sound is one of them, and listening to the machine, making sure it's running correctly without sputtering and running smoothly is one of those factors. Now, if it's running at a B flat or a G. It all depends on the style of machine. But another thing you can do to make sure that you're running correctly is to look at the numbers on your power source. So here's my liner again. So we're at that B, but let's see what my numbers are. See how my duty is at 60? And I like to have my machines around 55. Okay, so we're at 55. (115 cycles per second). That's pretty close to where I like to run my liner at. So I would say this machine is tuned correctly once I have those numbers that I want on the power source. And it's running smoothly, doing the job it's supposed to. So let's go to my shader. So I already have the numbers correct. And you can see the pitch is a little lower, but my numbers are correct. And let's move to my color machine. So my numbers are correct and I have enough hit for this machine to work. So I would say that this machine is tuned correctly, even though it sounds different from the other machines. So that's how you can tell if you are tuned correctly. It's where you want your machine to run. And I can turn my volts up and down or adjust my contact screw to get it to run differently from what I'm doing. But it's still tuned correctly because that's exactly how I want this machine to run. So there's a lot of statements out there that might not necessarily be true. They might have certain things that are true about them, but you can't just say that every machine is tuned correctly when it runs at a B flat. You have to look at your numbers as well and how you want that machine to run. And the gap in the machine will make it sound differently. You just want it to run evenly. And if it's running evenly, you're going to have a duty cycle as close to 50%. So if you like this video and you want to see more, you can subscribe to my page, and you can also visit me on Facebook at www.facebook.com/JontyTech.